Welcome to Heather Ewing, the CRE Rundown. Today, I have a special guest for you. It is Tony Hudzinski, and he is one of the partners of Wisco Real Estate Services. Tony, welcome.
Thanks, Heather. Happy to be here.
Definitely. Great to have someone from the Wisconsin area on, actually. It's been a while, so glad you could join me. As we get going, if you could just share with my audience a little bit more about yourself so they can get to know you a little bit more.
Sure, absolutely. So I am a full-time broker and real estate investor currently, but I certainly did not start there. I grew up loving to play golf, actually, and I couldn't afford it. And so I got a job at a golf course, and I did that all through high school and college. And part of the way through college, I realized I could go to school to work at a golf course. And so I actually went to University of Wisconsin here in Madison and got a degree in turf management. And so
Yes.
my first career, as I call it, is as a golf course superintendent. So I did that for about 20 years. And then when I met my wife, I would say like in 2007, somewhere in there, we weren't married yet, but we both agreed when we bought our first house that it would be an investment property. It would be a duplex. And so we house hacked before that was a term. And that was our first foray into real estate investing. Um, and from there, a couple of years later, we bought our first commercial building, which housed a business that we operated, and eventually sold that business, and really were enjoying just being landlords. And so we thought, let's just buy some more of these buildings and be landlords, right? And then around 2020, I decided that I didn't have time to be a golf course superintendent and good at home with our three children and continue investing. So I left the golf industry and got my real estate license and became an agent then, and now a broker, and have been investing ever since. And primarily today, I focus on multifamily, larger multifamily deals, and um, we use syndication to raise funds to buy those generally. So that's kind of a quick summary of my professional life.
Right, definitely. Well, the interesting thing too is with the turf experience, right? That ties in perfectly for land and other deals. I'm sure there's things that you've utilized in that sense that you carry forward. But if someone's newer to investing, share a little bit more about syndication, how that works, and just real high level, some of the pros and cons.
Sure, absolutely. I stumbled upon syndication just from an investor side, realizing that as a couple, my wife and I, we were only going to be able to buy so much property by ourselves before we were going to be overextended, over leveraged. We're going to run out of money for down payments, right? And so I began a search for how do people accumulate 1,000 units, 10,000 units of apartments, self storage, whatever it is they're into, and I found the syndication concept, and it's essentially a person or group of people who are the general partners or GPs. They typically are the active real estate piece. They go out and find deals. They find financing for them. They get them under contract, and then they find investors to come in as limited partners. So you have the general partners who operate it, and the limited partners or LPs who just invest the money into the deal. And so we pool our money together with our limited partners, and then we use those funds to go and buy the deals, and then we do all of the operations side all the way through an eventual sale. And so in my mind, it's really the one of the few ways you can truly passively invest in real estate. A lot of people think that real estate investing in general is passive, but buy yourself a duplex or a rental house on campus, and then
Oh.
call me in 6 months and tell me how passive that is, right?
Yeah, that they would need to look up what passive means. But
For sure.
so with that, in case there is someone that's listening, what type of investment opportunities are you looking for? What's a real rough parameter in case that person is looking to sell?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll tackle anything. I mean, we'll take anything from a house that looks like a good flip project. We have our own construction crew that works on our apartments, and we'll utilize them to flip a single family home. We're actively doing that right now. But our real bread and butter is, I would say, 16 units and up. And the sky's the limit. Like we'll look at deals that are 500 or 600 units as far as apartments go, right? And so we prefer something with some scale. We do have our own management team. That's a separate business, but we manage all of our own properties and we're able to scale that as needed. And with the syndication piece, we feel very comfortable, looking at deals that are $2 million up to $200 million. If it's a deal, we feel pretty confident that we can find the investors and find the funds to make it happen. And we feel even more confident that we can operate those effectively. So really, focusing around Dane County, Madison area, and we like to say Dane County and all the counties that touch it. So really South Central Wisconsin is where we'd like to stay for as long as we can. So we run out of property to buy. Because we really feel strongly about personally managing the property. We're not one of those companies that's actively, looking in Tampa or Phoenix because that's the hot market of today. And really hoping whoever we find to operate those deals is a good operator. It's really important to us. It's one of our core values that we keep our thumb on this. We're raising money primarily from our friends and family and putting our own money into every single deal. So we really want these things to perform and we want to be holding them to a very high standard.
Definitely. No, that makes complete sense. And what would you say are some of the common pitfalls of investing for newer investors?
Oh, I think I would start with just not knowing how to crunch the numbers appropriately, underestimating expenses and costs and potential downfalls. That's the one I see trip people up the most, right? Fortunately, with real estate, you don't tend to lose a lot of value quickly, right? So if someone gets into a bad deal, it's usually not going to go to zero. It's not like buying a stock in a startup company and then they just fail, right? And now your $10,000 investment's completely gone. But yeah, I think understanding how to operate or run the numbers properly, and so you don't get yourself in over your head, and underestimating how much work is involved. And so really finding experts and people who have been there and done that to mentor you is the key I've found.
Definitely, which segues in perfectly. So my understanding is you have various entities from construction to, I think, different classes, right? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a brokerage, so we do residential and commercial brokerage. We really like to focus on the investment side. So like that person that wants to buy their first duplex or rental house, I love working with those buyers and sellers. But we do regular residential real estate as well. So people that want to buy a home. We do private lending, which is people who are flipping houses can come to us for funds to borrow to do those projects short term. On the other side of that is our investors who invest in our apartment deals. We don't have an apartment deal typically going on at all times. And so the private lending allows them to invest in those loans. So if a flipper comes to us and says, I need $100,000 to flip this house, we'll go to our investor pool and say, who would like to borrow this person $100,000? They get paid a nice return. We facilitate the whole thing. We make sure the project is good. But we also teach people how to do that, as you alluded to. And we host a monthly meetup here at our office in DeForest, Wisconsin, just outside of Madison. And that's a free meetup.
Give it a plug.
Yeah, we call it the Wisco Investor Network. And it's invitation only. So if anyone would like an invitation, if you're local, please shoot me an email at partners@wiscorealestate.com or Tony@wiscorealestate.com, and I can put you on the list. But we get about 50 to 60 people a month who come, and we feed them really good food, have some drinks. We have really great networking afterwards. And it's become really popular, and it's fun to see this group of people grow, see the same people coming back, bringing friends. I've been craving a community like this for some time. So it's really neat to be able to give back. Like we like to say that we're self-proclaimed real estate nerds. And one of the ways we feel like we can give back to our community is by just sharing what we've learned and what we know and our connections too. And also learning from the attendees. They all have things to share as well.
Right. Well, and I think it's one of those too, like everyone takes their beatings in real estate, right? Especially in the early years. If you're able to get through those, then it's an amazing arena. But for those that don't, it's a very painful experience in that sense. So I like that you are giving it back. And of course, that's something that's near and dear to my heart too, is philanthropy and sharing what we've learned and helping people forward. So I see that as an important and essential part of business. But segueing in, what would you say is the mindset that has helped you to shift from the early years to now, or just some of the different things that really stick out to you that people should be aware of?
It's a good question. There's a lot of mindset set things. I think having an abundance mindset,
Mhm.
not being willing to openly share. Like I will share my trade secrets. Like if I think I've got some really cool investment hack, I'm not afraid to tell anyone that wants to hear about it. Um, Unfortunately, in my experience, if I tell 100 people the secret hack, there may be one or two that actually go through with it. But I
Exactly.
don't look at other investors as competition, and that's one of the cool things about our meetups is we really stress that we want people to be able to speak freely, and have that abundance mindset that there's more than enough for everyone to go around. And gatekeeping and holding things tight to the vest, we don't think serves anybody, right? And
No,
so we're very forthcoming with our information, and I really believe you need to give with no expectation of receiving. Right, that's a big core value of
definitely.
myself and our company
Yep.
too. Like we try to pour into people, and I know that it'll come back at some point in the future, but I'm not doing it for that reason, right? And so
Right.
I think having that abundance mindset and just not having, really not trying to eliminate limiting beliefs, right? If you would have told me 10 years ago that I would look at a $200 million apartment deal, I would have called you crazy. When I was before I was
Right.
a real estate professional and I had brokers looking for me, I would say, all right, look for duplexes between 150 and $300,000. And to me, that was as much as I could afford, and that was all I was going to look at. And um, partially, I joined a mentoring group to learn how to do the syndication piece, and being around people who are, that have raised $1 billion to buy real estate really
Right.
showed me, that this is doable, right? And it really, so now the sky's the limit. Like I said earlier, show me a 500 unit apartment complex, and in the past I would have never even looked into it, but now I'll analyze it. And if it makes sense, let's figure out how to make it go, right? And so just taking out the limiting beliefs and believing that having that abundance mindset will carry you through.
Definitely. So which group was that you learned from the mentorship?
Yeah, that group in particular, it's run by, they actually have the longest running real estate investment podcast. It's called the Real Estate Guys Radio Show.
Oh,
And
I've
so
heard of it.
yeah, I've
Yep.
stumbled upon their podcast, and they were hosting their annual goal setting retreat in Las Vegas. This is
Nice.
back in like 2019. And I asked my wife if she'd like to go, and she's like, I don't care who it is. Let's go to Vegas. I just want to get out of Wisconsin for a couple of days. And
Exactly.
boy, we met some just amazing people there that were involved in their, we'll call it like their inner circle group. And
Hmm.
it was enough to where like, wow, these people all have that abundance mindset. They're all so forthcoming with information. Like these are the people that in our minds at the time were the experts that we needed to figure out how to be around. And so we made a concerted effort to travel to all of their events and attend all their educational opportunities. And that's really what launched took our investment real estate investment careers up 10 notches.
I'm sure, definitely. And what would you say is your go-to for mindset when you need to kind of revamp that, right? Because some days it's just like, oh, wow, was that painful? And other days, right, it's like everything's clicking and the deals are, coming together and penciling and the numbers are coming in. What would you say is your go-to one or two things for mindset of staying
Yeah,
in the top tier?
I, I think the concept for me is thinking about how everything is happening for me and not to me.
Mhm.
So even when you spill your coffee on your pants, and bump into another car in the parking lot at the gas station on the way to work, like you can either let those things trigger you and set a bad tone and put you in a kind of a negative headspace for the whole day, or you can think of it as, all right, this happened for a reason, and I might not realize what it is right now, but I probably will in the future if I reflect on it enough. And maybe I got that flat tire because had I not gotten it, I would have gotten in an accident on my way to my meeting, right?
Right.
And so I try to look at everything as happening for me and not to me, and just having that mindset really helps shift me away from that woe is me victim mentality to I'm just another step closer to where I'm supposed to be.
Right. That's terrific. And what would you say, as far as the next 5, 10 years, what is there anything that jumps out to you as far as industry shifts, changes, um, Anything like that?
Sure. I'm very bullish on multifamily real estate right
Mhm.
now, just because I see, as a realtor, I see pricing. I see a lot of people can't afford to buy their first home anymore. They would love to own a home, maybe, but they can only afford an apartment, right? And I don't see that changing in the foreseeable future. There's just such a lack of housing in general, and especially affordable housing. And I know a lot of builders. I know what it costs to build things these days. Labor costs for them are through the roof on top of materials. And I see a lot of value to what we do in buying these older buildings and then using our construction crew to go in and make them nice, make them not
Mhm.
just livable, but almost like a brand new apartment, but for a fraction of a cost of what in time of what it takes to build a brand new facility. I'm very bullish on multifamily real estate, and then on the commercial side of things like retail and those sorts of things, restaurants. I think those things all need to be surrounding that, right? So um, I don't see a slowdown anytime soon, especially in the next 5 years. I'm doubling down. We want to buy every apartment we can get our hands on in the next 5 years. I'll put it that way.
Right. Yeah, I always have to chuckle at the number of calls I get for mixed use and different rent figures and this, that, and the other thing for the triple net leases. And it's liquid gold. You either have it or you don't, which all computes into those mixed use developments and things of that nature. So I agree, there's a lot of action and it's only going to increase with the density and the growth of Dane County, its projections. And a lot of people do want into the market, right? Our costs are much less than California and the larger markets. So it's a free for all and quite easy to snap up the inventory when they've got the right contacts. So I think it's
Absolutely.
important
Yeah.
to obviously have a local blend, some of the national, regional, but definitely keeping some of those solid local operators too.
Yeah. Madison is such a wonderful place to live, right?
It
Like
is.
it's these people that come and discover it from the coast. There's a lot of people moving south, right? For the last 4 years now, a lot of people have moved to Texas and Tennessee and Florida and Arizona. And um, boy, aside from a little cold like we're having, for a month or two here in the winter, it's really hard to beat, and it is much less expensive. The quality of life is amazing. It's another reason I'm bullish on apartments, but just real estate in general in the Madison area is just so strong because I teeter between wanting to shout it from the rooftops and keep it our little secret,
Right, right.
and keep all the institutional investors from the coast from coming and finding us, but they'll find us eventually. And again, with that abundance mentality, I want everyone to know, all around the world, how great of a place this Madison area is, and I truly believe that.
Definitely. So this is the hard hitting question, right? So the
All right.
last one, the big one is, what does living fully mean to you?
Ooh, living
Best for
fully.
last.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
question. Um, Living fully is it's not necessarily balance. I don't know that I believe you can achieve true balance. For me, it's keeping my priorities straight, and my number one priority is myself and my health, and keeping my mental, emotional, physical health in a good place, and whatever it takes to do that. Whether it's doing hobbies that I love, reading and growing. But once I'm taken care of, I really focus. I'm very, very much lean towards taking care of others. Like I'm an acts of service type of person. So
Mhm.
I think to live a full life, I really need to feel like I'm very much being of service to those around me, especially my friends and family. And so I
Right.
feel like if I can keep myself in a good spot and keep myself strong, I'll be in a good place to be as helpful as possible to everyone else. And for sure, money and business and all that stuff is cool, but it's a distant, it's down the list from those other things. So
Right.
relationships, I've enjoyed starting to get to know you. I love just meeting new people and
Definitely.
making connections. I really enjoy connecting people. If I can
Yes.
take two people that I
Yes.
know should meet and put them together, that's super satisfying. So yeah, living a full life is, I think, taking care of myself and then taking care of those around me, and everything else is a bonus.
Right. Well, and it's one of those too. It seems like you are living in a very aligned life, which would make sense why you're a happy person, good disposition, and you keep making choices that keep you on that path, which is neat. And I think so frequently a lot of people don't realize the power that they yield in setting goals and in saying yes to some things, no to other things that really help them get on that path. So I'd say kudos to you, Tony. That's
Thank
terrific.
you.
I'm excited for you. And I'm also excited to see how your company continues to grow and expand. And we'll have to do a deal together one of these times. So
Absolutely. I would love
yeah,
that.
we'll
Yeah,
pave that path too.
we're shooting to the moon. We're on a fast pace, and it's really exciting. And yeah, I look forward to working with you at any opportunity.
Definitely. So share with our audience, where's the best place for them to contact you? And then I'll also include it at the end of the video.
Sure. Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best place to find me. It's just Tony Hudzinski, TonyHudzinski.
Perfect.
Feel free to add me there. Yeah, I'd love to connect.
Excellent. Tony, thanks so much. It was great talking with you. All
Yeah, pleasure talking to you also.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.